TGIF. How are you, everyone? You know what you are. You're warriors. A week of grueling activity, and you're still standing. Congratulations. Let me ask the community this. Who remembered to sell Canada at Blake's number after the tariff announcements were made yesterday? You guys remember? Hi, Scott, Ingmar. Hi, Blake, Mike, Bran, Ryan, RC came in. Yes. Derek Miller, welcome to Face. You remembered. Okay. Okay. Now, the point being, you wouldn't have to remember. Hiya, Brian. Nice to meet you. You wouldn't have to remember because you would have gotten an alert because it happened fast. Okay. So just that trade in 24 hours on the one lot pays for your a year of being being a member. So just want to let you know it's only one trade and there's more value here than just one trade. That's an example of many. But you forget, you're hearing so much from so many people that unless, that was was on your radar. I don't know what I just did. Anyway, let me get rid of this one. Huh. Uh, Blake, I think I lost my charts. You want to take over?
If you go, I can take over until
Uh,
you find them.
uh,
But you just go to your history and you can pull them up
all
real
right.
quick.
In the
Yeah.
in the meantime, okay,
Yeah. In the
there.
meantime, I got you.
All right.
And good
Anyway,
morning.
great. That was a great call in Canada.
Thank you.
And the and the
Unfortunately, unlike Derek, I didn't have my orders sitting out there. I had to short it after the fact, and
so
I
what?
think I went to go make myself some afternoon coffee, and I'm due. For a single cup, I do the pour over, type of coffee, not the drip,
Oh yeah,
I just do it
yeah,
for myself.
yeah.
And, I was heating up the water, doing that. I didn't hear anything. And, I'm lollygagging around. I come back to the desk and holy shit. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
of course I sit, you sit at the desk literally for, 12, 14 hours a day and you miss that. And by the time I sat back down, we were already trading back at like 145.15 or something. So anyway, it
Anyway,
happens.
it was a great call.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, okay, so just so everybody knows why, we had this range, right? This range we've been in for over a month. It was literally the 161% extension of this range. It's just the golden fib level, guys. It wasn't like any voodoo magic or anything. It was just, but you have to think about why the rejection could happen up there. It's because the market is so overly bullish the dollar that any spike up there is probably going to find some sellers. Now, here the bigger issue, Dale, is I don't think Canada's out of the woods yet. There's still ongoing negotiations, and
Yeah.
as Ryan and K-Man will probably tell you here in a little bit, it's the risk is that you know tariffs could be put on Canadian oil. It could he could say the negotiations that are happening about the border right now, those could fall through, and next thing you know, the dollar CAD's trading close to 148. So I don't think we're out of the woods yet. But did you find your charts?
No. Well,
Oh,
I found them, but I'm trying to hook them anyway. I'm trying to hook them
oh,
up with what I did. So
okay, okay.
anyway,
Well,
because I
yeah,
can't, I like separated the chart thing from
no
where I am.
problem.
Okay.
So why don't you can go ahead and you can talk, and I'll and
All right.
with Ryan and K-Man, and I'll just navigate charts for you.
All
So
right. Thank you,
yeah.
Blake. So Ryan, let's start with you. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. Glad it's Friday. How are you?
Yeah. So do you think our patience, we're talking about patience, and waiting for the euro to, I think we got to 38% today, or halfway, but it looks like maybe next week we'll get that opportunity lower to buy it. I'm looking at Blake. If you look at Blake's fibs here, I'm looking at 61.8 or so to be a buyer next week.
Yeah,
What do
well,
you
it's
think?
heading down that way. It's on the creep, as we like to
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
We got what we get 65 low today, so that's only 15 pips off your 50 level.
right, yeah,
A lot of eyeballs on that at the moment. Probably got a sail through this weekend and see what Mr. Trump announces. He's got another executive order signing today at 3 o'clock your time, wherever it is, about the same time as what we saw yesterday. So that might go on. Yeah, he touched on Europe just briefly last night, just saying they got to address the deficits and whatnot. But that's the thing with him at the moment. You know, he was saying that he's going to go easy on China and whatnot, and then he said last night, "Oh, we're preparing China tariffs," and you know that was another currency that got hit as well. Not as much as the loonie did.
yeah.
But yeah, sorry, back to your euro. Yeah, I think there's every chance of seeing it down. You know, but I'm surprised Blake isn't flagging the bear flag moment.
Oh, in the no, no, on the US dollar CNH. You know, I don't follow it as
No,
closely as
euro dollar.
I'm sorry. I was going to say it's
Yeah,
well,
stick it on an hourly. Yeah, there you go.
yeah. And you think it's a bear flag?
Well,
Bull
I'm not
flag.
one for flags. Yeah, it's
Well,
a bear
yeah,
flag.
that's the way I look at it, Dale. I look at it like you're
No,
looking
the
at
other
it.
Yeah,
way. No. The flag. Go onto the hourly, an hourly chart.
Yeah.
Yeah, zoom out a bit. So that bound, where are we looking? No, you need to zoom out. Zoom out.
Right. Oh, hold on. Don't get your panties in a wad.
Oh, there
All
you
right.
go. There you go. So from the low, the 102 lows up to the
Yeah.
yeah.
highs, there's your flag. And we're breaking it down. So your flag poles prior to that.
Wait a second. You
Dear
you're
me, man.
you're 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 thinking this?
Yeah,
Yeah, is
it's
that not on the
a flag after the downtrend.
Right, right. I
I
mean,
don't know.
one
That's
of
I don't know.
yours?
I'm with you,
That's
Dale. I
why I
don't.
don't look at flags. That's why I
I
don't
think
do
Ryan needs
flags.
to. I think he's looking backwards through a
I
mirror and sitting upside down trying to
it
read this
look, you
thing.
know,
You know.
it looks more like a flying carpet than a
There
flag
we
to
go.
me. All right,
But
so
That's
Dale,
what.
I'm with you on this. I see it more like that, and you can see
yeah,
Sterling's in a bull flag pattern. You know, this is
yeah,
after creating a low. I
yeah.
think but you can't really trade on that just yet because
Of
we're
the
all waiting
weekend.
to hear what Trump has to say about Europe too. So
You
I
know,
don't know.
Blake, I was thinking about this. You know, we're all talking about waiting to hear what he says, and he's going to say things on, you know, and all for 4 years. So I think the best thing that we can do is, I think, really just put in earplugs and just like we always have, just trade technically, and whatever he does, react to it with your charts and instead of trying, you know, I think you have to be more technical than ever now because of this noise. The
Yes,
you know,
yes.
so I think that you know, that skill, if you don't get influenced by the emotional stuff with announcements, then you really don't have to care about what he says. You know where you want to buy and sell something, and after he says something, if it's at those levels, you execute
You
I
instead of
think
know,
we
trying to
can't.
figure out what it means and what it's going to lead
Yeah,
to. You know, you end up in a rabbit hole.
I don't think you
but
can do that on anything less than a 4 hour chart, though, Dale, because you know if you're
Yeah,
looking at an hourly chart like last night, you know that was 190 pips. Everything
yeah,
on your 15-minute, 30-minute hourly chart
yeah.
is blown to smithereens. So you've got
Right.
to go in your
Well,
4 hours. You find out where the real big levels are. You know, the ones that if you get there, is it likely to be a stretch point for that move, or you know, technically,
yeah.
is that where we're going to break?
Well, I think that Canada is a perfect example of that. So before the news broke about tariffs, technically, Blake had a target up there, a fib extension target. He's been waiting for it for a while. It got through that megaphone for a minute, but he had the number. So
Yeah,
actually, what he says fulfills what we're seeing technically. So not to get too attached to what he says, but get attached to your charts and
yeah,
have your levels and react when he says something instead
And
of
just to
go
add
ahead.
on top of that, Dale, just because now we look at the dollar CAD as a potential false breakout,
Yeah,
and so all we need now is we need a break below like the European lows, which ironically, I had this set up last night, not this morning. If you go to like my hourly charts, you'll
yeah,
notice that my alarm was actually set just below the lows. Now I was setting that because of yesterday. I was like, well, if we come back and break below this level, I want to be like notified if we get much below it. So my alarm didn't get triggered, but ironically, if we break back below there, I think that's where that's where it turns more bearish, and that's where people are going to be like, okay, I don't want to be long anymore. And I think you're right. You have to just think about from a positioning standpoint what if you're long and you bought yesterday, like you bought, the spike, and or maybe you picked it up on the dip when it was trading at 145 yesterday afternoon, and you're like,
yeah,
I'm sitting in it. You got up this morning, it's not too far away from your price, and it dipped a little bit overnight, but it came back, and so you're sitting at long at 145, and it's trading at 144.70. And you're like, oh, Canada's not out of the woods yet. This is still going on. If we start breaking below these lows, you might second guess yourself. So I think just knowing what traders are doing on the other side of the market, if you're long, how are they feeling about the market? Well, they're probably not going to be too comfortable if we break below European lows.
yeah,
I try to think of it like in that terms too.
yeah. John Hawkins is one of our attendees here today. Looks like he has some skills, and he's talking about the Dixie looks clearer than Euro, and looking for a recovery back towards 108.60. He has the same kind of numbers that we've been talking about this week. So, when it comes to Canada, maybe almost everything you key off the dollar Dixie. You don't have to trade it, but I want to see where Canada's at should the Dixie continue this counter trend move up towards those levels. Then I think you could be, sell dollars across the board and at least attempt it. So, that's what I'm thinking. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And that'll be the end of two. Okay. And then so now we're starting three. That should be a pretty big rally, a pretty big decline in the dollar. So, these threes of 1.618 of one. So that's going to take you, what was it? Yeah. Yeah. So, that could take you back down towards 105 in the dollar. 860 to 105, take out the lows. Yeah. If
You,
it's
you,
yeah. Anyway.
Dale, I know well, I actually just retweeted it. It was from last week, and I want to just show you guys and make sure. Shit, where is it? Let me just pull it up on Twitter. This is a tweet from earlier. Well, it was actually the other day. So this is the dollar index from 2017. If you remember, the Trump
Oh,
administration, February 1st, we started to get a rally, which is ironic that February 1st is this weekend. We're actually starting to break this channel already to the upside in the dollar
yeah.
index.
Yeah.
And what happened is following in
Yeah.
2017 is we saw a continued move higher in the dollar index until President Trump back then talked down the dollar. And then the dollar went pretty much straight down after that, which is ironic because, if let's say,
It's
and a
very
lot of people,
similar.
it is. And if a lot of people believe that his bark maybe is, or his bite is as loud as his bark, and he comes out and he's just kind of swinging. Maybe the dollar does continue to firm up a little bit, but then he's going to eventually have to talk down the dollar because he doesn't want, a strong dollar. So he might verbally start talking it down after a while. But I don't know. It is following that pattern, and it's interesting if
It's a
we
nice
do.
analog.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah. It's following pretty closely right now. So anyway,
Yeah. How's K-Man today?
Heyman is in a Friday mood, Dale. Good morning,
Oh, good.
everybody.
Good morning. You still in the waiting room?
Um, yeah. Well, I've done a couple of things, but nothing really sizable. And
Yeah.
waiting room. It's month end. I'm a jobber today, or as you say, a
Yeah.
scalper.
Okay.
The big ideas are, well, for me at least, not so much there yet. Okay, the metals is one thing, but on FX
Yeah.
pure, I would say it's all still a bit hanging in the balance. What is good, what is bad is still a bit of a question mark to me. But I'm having plans. I'm having plans. One of it involves still not liking the euro, but um, it's we have to choose the other side of the pair wisely. I don't know whether it's euro dollar that we need to do, or do something like euro antipodians. If for instance Trump doesn't go too harsh on China, perhaps euro antipodians, maybe a trade in there. But yeah, it's sometimes I'm having plans, but it's not that I'm pressing too many buttons right now, Dale.
Yeah. I was looking at some Chinese stocks and
Mm,
they look pretty good. Um, so I think the market's expecting, Baba is a good example, Blake,
yeah.
and, it's came out of the hole.
With its
Look at that.
with its AI that is competing with the rest of the world's AIs. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but I think the global stock markets are still looking as if it's all not going to be that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's perhaps something to do, but there is one that I'm going back maybe to the euro dollar. I am watching those, and I know because I think it's still Blake showing everything. I
yes,
know you have your that little chart with the overlay with the differentials. We have decoupled a bit from that pattern, which is understandable in what we are having now. Yeah, because we had Trump, we had the central banks, and all that. As you can see there, the differentials are saying that euro dollar should perhaps trade a bit lower, and I think since we should hear from Trump later on today, I think that correlation may start to kick back in next week because it's going to have an impact, especially if he mentions anything about the eurozone. But yeah, this
yeah,
is
because the Eurozone's been out of the crosshairs pretty much for the most part for
Yeah.
now, right?
Just NATO, spend more money. That's all. He
Yeah.
mm,
hasn't said anything about, Macron should leave. And although Elon Musk is supporting a right-wing party in Germany.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
everywhere, this guy.
Yeah, but it was interesting that, and it went a little. It escaped a lot of people that Trump said he would do something about the trade deficits with Europe. So perhaps there is something coming after all, but we will see. We will see.
It's going to push him towards China.
That is a theory that can hold yeah,
Yeah, you
depending on
know.
how hard he pushes against Europe.
Yeah. So I'm sure they can entice him. So all right, I was the news didn't work for me on Apple. But Nvidia still, I'd like to re-enter that trade, but it's not cooperating with the strength in the market. Maybe if the blow off, we get more of a melt up. I want to sell it, yeah, around that blue line, but I'm thinking I'd like to see it into the gap or that red moving average to recommit. But
You mean this
yeah,
50
yeah,
DMA? Yeah,
yeah,
and yeah, that's
yeah,
not too far away. And actually, let me see real quick, Dale.
$10.
Yeah, I mean for Nvidia, it's probably not a whole lot. If you take the all-time highs to the lows, so that I mean, just the 618 comes in at 139.45. So
Okay,
you're talking
yeah,
138, 139. Probably not a bad
yeah,
place to be on the short side.
yeah. So we'll probably need the S&Ps to go to, I don't know, 6,200 to get this back up there. And
Did you?
Apple, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's
Apple.
just about it. Apple. Their earnings weren't that good, but they brought it back, and on the 4 hour, you there it is. Okay, so it's blew through 61.8. It's close to 78.6. So I was early at 50%. I'm not going to add today. That's a younger Dale Pinkert. Oh yeah, just build my position. So I'm going to give it a little time. I still believe there's a good possibility that this is just going to be a failing rally after that $40 decline. But there probably has to be some distribution, sideways action, whatever. Um, but I still don't think Apple's going to new highs. I think that break, uh, first it was real powerful on the way up. Elliott guys look for that, and then it just gave it all back. I think, if you cover up the title, you'd be probably looking to sell a retrace. So
Yeah,
that's
so
what
maybe
I'm doing. Yeah,
something like something like oops, I drew that incorrectly. Something that would look like this, Dale, right?
yeah,
There's two, three would be a bigger move,
yeah,
4, 5, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
you get a
Finish
reversal high.
around that 175 to 185 level that you have down there. I don't know what their fibs from, but that's those are a couple targets
Okay. Yeah,
down there.
that make sense. It's interesting if you look at like you look at the Apple numbers, and I saw somebody make this analysis that if you factor in inflation, Apple's not a growth company anymore. It's growing, but it's not even keeping up with inflation, is what their argument was.
Yeah,
And I agree. I think Apple's more of you've heard me say it here several
yeah.
times. I think it's more of like a modern day electric company. That's
Yeah, it's
all
a
it is.
utility. It's a
Yeah, it's a
utility
utility company,
stock.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So
not a growth stock anymore. Hey, real quick, we got a few minutes before PCE. I wanted to just ask Ryan and K-Man what your thoughts are with this tariff news that's lingering. You can see you go to the dollar Canadian, and the dollar Canadian obviously is kind of sitting up here, and but has this pre-announcement, I say pre-announcement, what we got from the Trump administration yesterday, we got the initial, hey, we're going to slap 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada over the weekend. Obviously, we got the spike higher, but there's still ongoing negotiations. So what are your thoughts as we head into the weekend if we haven't heard anything concrete before the weekend? Let's start with you, Ryan.
You probably see a little bit of panic going in if we haven't heard anything by close of business. We have
So that
again,
would
we have
mean
this.
selling Canadian dollars, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, okay.
We've got this executive order signing going on again tonight, same time, 3 p.m. your time, I think it is, or Washington time. So probably no rest for the wicked and us lot over here in Europe, keeping an eyes on the screens. But if we go into the weekend with no decision, then as far as everyone's going to be concerned, those tariffs are going to happen tomorrow. I don't know when that is, if it's like midnight or something like that. And then we'll see what happens when markets open. But everyone's running around behind the scenes, particularly Canada, having conversations with all different parties. So, we could run into the weekend, with Canadian dollar weakened, and we get a headline, oh, we're going to suspend tariffs while we're negotiating, or Canada or Mexico's agreed to our demands and there'll be no tariffs. And then you're going to get the other way when we open. So very dangerous to have anything going over the weekend.
Okay, so in other words, if for those of you that have Canadian or Mexican exposure, you're not out of the woods yet. Don't, you shouldn't be heading into the weekend saying, "Oh, I'm short the dollar Canadian 40 pips higher, so I'm just going to hang on to it over the weekend." That could be dangerous. You could have a
Yeah.
200 pip gap higher on
Yeah.
Monday, right?
Yeah.
K-Man, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
No, that was it. No, I was just agreeing with you.
Okay. K-Man, do you have any final thoughts regarding everything that's happening,
I
wise?
hope we know a lot tonight, because he's scheduled to sign some stuff. So I'm hoping we don't have too many weekend gaps. But yeah, I mean, same as everybody. I mean, if it goes hard, I I'm having like this small bias of saying he's not going to slap the full 25 on straight away. That is smalls where my personal little bias lies. That is not going to be as bad straight off the bat. So that is how I look at it right now. But there's other stuff going on. There's a lot of demand in the metals right now.
Yeah. Wow.
Something to really keep an eye on as well. Gold is running. Silver is following from a distance, and but if it's all, let's say, less bad or less harsh than expected, I think silver could do the next leg up next week.
Yeah, and speaking of which, just with this gold, I'm going to read you guys the analysis from before it broke out this morning. It obviously broke out after the fact, after we tweeted this out and updated our charts. Look for that 2820 level. That it is not only, and this is one of these fib levels that you guys start paying attention to. You'll notice it's 161% extension. Shit, I didn't want to do that. 161% extension of this last leg lower. That takes us right, about 10 points about from where we're at. But if you go longer term, like long term,
Yeah.
this is back in 2020, right? 2020 to 2022. That's the 261% extension at the same spot, like literally above, 20 points, 10 points above where we're at right now. It's one of those things that gold could end up hitting a new high. Everybody gets super bullish and it hits a fib confluence and reverses and heads back below 2790. And everybody goes, oh shit, we got a false breakout. I wonder why that happened. But if you just look at that confluence up there, you can see how it is possible. So just be real careful if you're long, because obviously all the RSIs are divergent big time, and it's just an RSI, but
Mm.
still you got to be careful up at these levels, just because, like I said, there's like these hidden fib extensions that most people aren't even paying attention to, except for you guys are. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah, if I may take even the
Yep.
longer term and go back to the big setback that we had between 2011 and 2015, put some extensions on there. We're not far from here either. There's a lot going on between 28 and 28 and a half.
Yeah, there's just this is a pretty big and explosive move, and I've got to imagine people are chasing it higher. So just be careful. We have PCE coming out in just a second. I'm gonna get ready for it. Dale, any last minute thoughts? We got a couple of minutes before this news comes out, but
Yeah.
anything that you wanted to get off your chest real quick before we
Yeah. Well, I'll call you on that. Anyway,
no, anything market
all right.
wise you want to get off your chest.
I'm with the guys, and I'm not going to do anything today. I'll wait till next week. I could, just hang on to what I have.
Got it.
Couple of
Okay.
underwater put positions.
Yeah, I'm with you. I buy mine far enough out so I can be wrong for a little while. So
Yeah, I'm
I
in
try not to.
June's.
Yeah, June's. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I try to buy them
yeah,
several months out so I don't have to be right that day. And
yeah.
since I'm trading it like in my purview, that's how I trade equities. I tend
Yeah,
to. Anyway,
yeah. So,
Ryan,
so not
any
much
last
yet.
minute thoughts? We have less than a minute here. 30 seconds actually.
No, not really. Trade safe, traders. Be careful, and remember Friday's pips are beer pips.
All right, and I'm gonna pull up the damn data flash. I took it off because it has a voice squawk on it too. So I moved it out of the way because I was trying to do the show and I keep getting the voice squawk. And remember, that's included with Forex Analytics. Okay, Canadian GDP, a little weaker than expected.
0.4, but in
PCE
Yeah, Powell was spot on, 2.8.
2.8. Price index though is a little hot.
Yeah.
That came in a little hotter than expected. But we were Ryan, weren't we expecting this data because Powell had already told us what we're going to get?
Yeah, absolutely.
Blake, if you look at TLT,
Yeah.
I know that it has a look of a head and shoulders bottom that people are talking about, but to me, this is a pretty weak bounce, but it sets up TLT like, I don't know, daily or something. Yeah, okay. I think that will make one more low as the market, maybe the market makes one more high. I don't know, but I'd be looking for one more low and you'll have a lot of divergence. And I think we're going to have a big rally after we take out that prior low.
Oh,
So
wow. So
maybe
you
this,
think, are you looking below this low over here?
no.
Oh, this one, just this one here.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe it goes 82.50. Maybe it tries it. So, we go there and then we turn big. I've seen some counts that after this low, we could trade 120 next year. That to me means, I don't know, a growth scare or something.
Maybe, or the Trump administration really talking down the dollar, yields
Yeah,
crap the bed, and bonds rip and the dollar sees 90. Who knows?
Okay, that I like that.
Yeah.
All right.
There's an idea. All right, Dale. Well, I know you have an interview. Hey guys, let me
I
just real
don't
quick.
today.
You have Pedro, right?
Oh my goodness, I forgot about Pedro. Yeah. I wonder.
He's here because
okay.
well, I don't know if he's here.
Yeah.
Is
Let
he
me
here?
check.
Okay. While he's doing that, I'm gonna say, guys, you know what's really interesting? I got to tell you guys this. I'm going to tell you a little story, a little personal story. He might be listening in this morning. I'm actually going to have a call with him. We have new traders that come all the time. They take a trial. It's $1 for 10 days. You can join in our community. You get the dashboard. You get all these great tools, all this analysis for 30 different instruments, not even currencies, all currencies. You get everything, right? You're in their chat room. And last night I get a message from a guy named Brett, and Brett's like, "Yeah, hey Blake, I want to get my one-on-one meeting with you." And I'm like, "Oh, you're not part of the trader funding program. You just signed up for Forex Analytics, so you can listen to our daily roundups, Morning Edge. Those are private shows for all the Forex Analytics subscribers." And he's like, "Yeah, can you shoot me an email?" And I'm like, "Okay, fine. I'll shoot him an email." So I went and grabbed his email and I looked at his last name. I'm like, "Oh my God, I know who this guy is." And so I shot him an email. He was a year older than me in high school. He's from my area. We're going to have a call today. And I've known the guy for about 40 years now. So, and he's, yeah, it's crazy. And he's like, "Yeah, I found you guys. And then I saw you on the homepage." And he's like, "Shit, I have to come now. I have to go talk to you." So he saw my picture here, and then he went, and realized, he's like, "Oh my God, that's Blake. I've known." And it's funny because we know so many of the same people even today. So I'm really excited to catch up with them today. And speaking of which, Dale, one last thing. And do you have Pedro here? Is he here?
Yes, he's here.
Okay. One last thing is Jack, who has been an intern with us, and he's on our team, but he's also doing a lot of crypto stuff for another firm. He went to a CTA meeting and he met with, I have to pull up the name. He was hanging out with Mr. Katz, who I think his name's Glenn Katz.
Oh yeah.
Who also used to
childhood
be
friend.
Your childhood college buddy, right?
Yeah, I knew him from junior high.
Well, Jack just met him here in town a couple of days ago, and then Joe called me from
Yeah, Joe met him.
Florida 2 days ago, and he's like, "Hey, I was with one of Dale's old college buddies, and he knows who you guys are, and he's a CTA out of I believe he's in Phoenix. So yeah,
Well,
isn't that crazy?
okay. Yeah,
Small world.
it is. It is. And
It's a
but you
small
know who's
world.
going to help make sense out of it is Pedro da Costa.
Ah,
Because
we're so
Pedro,
glad to have Pedro.
you could tell what kind of week we've all had. Where normally Fridays I don't do an interview. I keep them open in case I need to reschedule people. I'm sorry I forgot. I'm glad you
It's my fault.
remembered.
I'm the one who switched it up from Monday to today. So
Yeah, well, old timers. I've been. You trade for, you know, 40 years or longer. You probably fry a few synapses. What do you
Well,
think?
Dale, I'm going to check out here, but
All
I
right.
want to say have a great week, everybody. And then Pedro,
Yeah.
it's really nice to have you here, especially being a guy that has been in the room with so many Fed chairs over the years. I always respect your words and your insights. So I'm sure everybody here is going to as well. So make sure you all stick around for this interview. All right,
thanks,
thanks,
All right.
Dale.
Well, all right. Thanks, team. Ryan came in. Blake.
Cheers, mate.
So,
Thanks a lot.
all right, guys. Have a great weekend. So, Pedro, what's your reaction to the Fed this week and the presser and the little bit of a battle going on between our new president and Jerome Powell?
Absolutely. It's been so I think you fry a few synapses as a Fed reporter over the years as well. So
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Okay.
Yeah, the week has been a whirlwind. The past 2 weeks have been a whirlwind, right? A lot of
Yeah.
announcements and reversals. It was actually I was at the Fed when I found out that the spending freeze had been rescinded. So that's how
Okay.
volatile the week has been.
Yeah.
As far as the decision
They're
and
making us work harder, buddy.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I got to carry my laptop and MiFi with me at all times now, just in case, you know, because I also edit our copy for Canada, the Bank of Canada coverage, as well as uh, as the Central Bank of Brazil and Mexico nowadays. So all of those, of course, are deeply affected by anything that Trump tweets or says. So I
Yeah.
really have to be on my toes beyond my Fed coverage. But as far as the meeting itself, I think it was kind of interesting because it was the usual two-step of the statement being a little bit on the hawkish side and reflecting more of the FOMC as a whole, and then the chair coming in and giving more of a dovish tone to things and softening the market. I think the market acceptance of the decision, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think the way I look at it is, from my perspective, the Fed might well be done cutting rates if the data don't cooperate. And if inflation picks up as many expect it to, or at least stabilizes at current levels. But they
Okay.
do want to keep the option of cutting open. They want to keep the story alive that they're still in easing mode because they don't want the market to start pricing in hikes, right? They don't want the market to unduly tighten financial conditions. So they need to keep that story alive. So it's a little bit there's a little bit of a dissonant message there where they see upside risk to inflation and yet they still foresee more rate cuts. But at the same time, there was a kind of a new hawkishness, I think, from the chair in the sense that his message about being in no hurry to cut appeared to raise the bar a little bit for how much progress he needs to see. I do think we need to see kind of a string of decent
Week.
inflation reports
Yeah.
before he cuts again. And that I think takes us beyond March and probably at least until May before he starts to consider any more reductions.
Okay. So uh, I think that there's a little bit of that was a little bit of pushback, don't you think, compared to what the demands of President Trump are?
Oh, absolutely.
For him to be firmer and we're not going to be bullied or intimidated by you.
I think
We're
that's
good.
right. And there was the whole
Yeah.
tone of the press conference was, A, I'm not going to talk about anything related to politics, anything that appears even remotely political or related to a policy decision that the administration might be on the verge of making, right?
Yeah.
And he also had to skirt questions about all kinds of things, right? He was asked about, his Reuters had a story about how the Fed scrubbed the DEI language off its website.
Okay.
And so, of course, the Reuters reporter asked about DEI and whether his view had changed. And you know, he had to kind of dodge that question. And then there was the issue of, you know, the issue of rates themselves and whether they're going to keep cutting them. And I think, yeah, I think there was a firmness there and the desire not to even come close to fiscal policy in any way. It's a third rail for Jay Powell, and he's not going to go there.
Okay. Yeah, the 10-year looks like, maybe back to 4.3, but that's a 4-hour chart. If you look at a daily, I still think we're going to challenge the recent highs and even take them out, Pedro. That
You?
we're just in a pullback, and I think they'll go for these levels again, even if we pull back to here. This is a big level, 430. What's your view? Uh, you know, the bonds acted great when he did nothing. Okay, they didn't act great when he was easing. So
Yeah, I mean
maybe it's the bonds that forced his hand. You saw what the last couple cuts did to yields, and this was it. I mean,
it is
so
quite striking. It's quite striking how the rate the 50 bip cut in September was basically the bottom in yields, right?
yeah, yeah,
And it's been ratcheting up ever since. So
yeah.
the policy worked exactly in reverse of how it's supposed to work. So I think that is part of the story, right? The market has tightened conditions for them. That might be what permits him to say that monetary policy is actually meaningfully restrictive. I think that was another important facet of the press conference.
Hmm.
He's clearly, there's a big debate within the FOMC as to how far we are from neutral. And for the hawks, I think they all kind of agree that inflation is likely to keep falling. They're pretty sanguine on that. The disagreement lies between how, in terms of hawk versus dove, is how far do you think you are from neutral? So the Schmidts and Logans of the world think we are pretty close to neutral, and Bowman and the like. And Chair Powell and John Williams and people like that, they think that we're pretty far from neutral. And so that
Okay,
means you can do several more rate cuts before you're kind of at a break-even level on rates.
okay. And I'm looking for the bonds to make one more low as well. This could change the picture, don't you think? Since you and I last talked, Pedro, it's very possible that the dollar may have peaked. It's trying to recover now. Uh, Trump wants a weaker dollar to help, stimulate exports, um, make things more expensive for us. uh, that could loosen financial conditions, a weaker dollar. If this is a high and we're just getting, pulled back before the dollar takes another drubbing. What you
Maybe,
have
man.
a feel for it?
I don't, you're the dollar expert, you're the currency
Okay.
expert here, but I would say that I just think that if inflation does resurface, then we're going to get a
Yeah.
level of hawkishness from the Fed. If we do go into extended pause mode and the remaining rate cuts are priced out, then maybe the dollar gets a little bit more oomph in there.
Yeah. Well, do you think that Paul watches the gold market?
Oh, I'm sure he does. He watches it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's
been an
not
impressive
exactly a
run.
vote of confidence.
No, it's certainly not. It's certainly not.
What do you think it's signaling? And there's like all kinds of stories about shortages, and Bank of England's going to take 8 weeks to ship out the gold to whoever wants it back. Um, are we having some kind of confidence crisis within the financial community that's being expressed in this market?
So the shortages you're talking about are shortages of gold, like bullion?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, they can't deliver, the Bank of England.
I didn't
Yeah,
even know about that.
yeah. It used to be a couple of days, and now they said it'll take 8 weeks. So I don't know. Maybe they're fabricating some in the basement. But gold kind of saying that the temperature of the financial system, that it has a fever? for this to be happening?
I think that the sentiment has definitely, obviously, I'm not saying anything new by saying that sentiment's taken a dive in the last couple of weeks, right? With the tech sell-off and all the
Yeah,
nervousness about tariffs and just the
yeah,
high level of uncertainty. One thing that I have a hard time getting my head around is that markets hate uncertainty. Markets seem to love the Trump administration more or less, but there's a lot of uncertainty that comes with Trump 2.0 so far.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
we'll see what they do overnight. That's going to be, I think, a big deal because I think
yeah.
if they blink on the tariffs, uh, then that'll be a pretty significant signal, right? They've played up what's going to happen tonight. So if they do something substantial, then we go into trying to kind of scenario analysis about what happens next, what kind of retaliation there is, what kind of step up in the tariff program there is, how it's going to spread. But if they don't, I think it's going to appear that they're actually not really that willing to use that policy tool. So
Okay, well, here's kind of like the blue chip of blue chips in China. And I would say that people are hoping or expecting that he's going to, be tempered on what he does with China.
yeah,
But
I
they
mean,
could be
so far
wrong.
he has not been very hawkish on China. So
Yeah. Plus, he's going to meet with Xi,
yeah,
right? So I can't. Well, who knows what card he'll pull out? But anyway, I've heard people that they like China, and if the dollar's turning, emerging markets, that should take the pressure off emerging markets and maybe some better performance than what we'll have in the U.S. with a weaker dollar, if it
well, the
happens.
emerging market I was watching this week, of course, was Brazil because they raised interest rates by 100 basis points. And what was interesting there is that they had a 2 month guidance about rates hikes of the same quote unquote same magnitude. So they indicated in December that this month and next month would be 100 basis point hikes. And they're one of the few banks hiking, right? Everybody else is cutting. But they have a fiscal problem on their hands. It's literally like a kind of it's not quite fiscal dominance, but it's a fiscal confidence crisis that has led to a sharp decline in the currency, which is forcing the central bank to counteract it basically. And they have a new central bank chief having to prove his kind of hawkish druthers. So they're having to
Yeah,
hike in full percentage point increments.
it's big.
Um, and
Another currency crisis in Brazil.
Yeah, it's not quite a currency crisis, but I mean it is for Brazilians it is. I was there for
Yeah,
Christmas actually visiting family and it was, front page news every single day. And the
yeah.
real was hitting all-time lows every single day. And I as an American visitor with dollars was feeling flush, right? Because everything was
Okay.
divided by six. So
Yeah, yeah. They all wanted your cash.
exactly. So it was, yeah,
Yeah.
like I would get when I got my credit card bill back for, we'd go out and I'd be like, oh, don't worry, I'll pay for it. And it was like 1,000 something reais. And then you'd get the bill. It's like, oh, that's like $160. It's like,
Besides Mexico, he really hasn't named or targeted any South American countries. And we know Brazil being part of the BRICS would not be, uh, in President Trump's friendly camp.
it's true.
Uh,
Although, I mean, I guess there was the brief Colombia spat, of course, but that
oh yeah,
that
yeah,
was dead and gone within hours. That was
yeah,
another rapid
yeah.
fire reversal.
I wanted to water ski through the canal. Anyway, how about the Gulf of America? We'll go
It's
take a
still,
sip.
I Googled it yesterday and I know Google said they were going to change it. It's still, it's still Gulf of Mexico
All
as we
right.
currently speak, but we'll
Oh,
see.
all
It's
right.
kind of amazing though. I mean, that actually is a really fascinating aspect of, Trumpism. The idea of like a potentially expansionist
Yeah,
United States.
yeah,
Uh, I think the implications are pretty significant, even though people laugh about it and they downplay it.
yeah,
I think he's serious about a lot of what he says, and he's serious about Greenland.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think that people need to pay attention.
The Japanese showed they were serious. Your view, any view on what the BOJ finally in the, camp of raising rates? You think that's going to carry on? We held some important support here in the end, but I think that maybe, we could rally, but I think it's a failing rally and that the yen could strengthen this year. What effect will that have on things like carry trades and JGBs? You have a view of what's happening in Japan and how it could affect things here in the U.S. I know
That's
that
a great
Trump,
question, Dale. So we've been kind of waiting for that effect for a long time as the
yeah,
BOJ started to turn its wheels and, and ponder hikes right after forever
yeah,
of negative and low rates. Um, but the effect really hasn't played out in any palpable way that I see market participants discussing broadly. So
okay,
uh, I'm not quite, and also they're, while they're they're hiking and the conditions have improved and they're stable enough to be able to get off the ground with rates. It's not like they can go that far because it's not like inflation is expected to take off in any significant way. So I just
okay.
wonder how much room that has to really run.
Well, it used to be a safe haven currency.
Yeah.
So maybe what's going to be behind it is, you know, maybe we have a growth scare. Right now everyone's focused on inflation and everyone believes the labor market is strong, but there are some people out there that have good reputations that say that the labor market's cracking right now, that there's going to be lots of job loss.
Yeah, there is that argument out there. And also one of the things I've been thinking about is the labor data is going to be really hard to read in coming months. A, because the immigration stuff might be affecting sort of job attendance in ways and hiring in weird ways, right?
Yeah,
Um, and uh and yeah, I think there's a lot of kind of seasonal issues that are going to cloud the data coming in the coming months. It's going to be hard to read. And also the other thing is with all this focus on cutting uh, government jobs, that had been, of course, one of the huge sources of employment growth in recent months. So does that
oh,
mean
interesting. Yeah,
that you get, a
yeah,
sudden decline in the payrolls average because of that? It
yeah,
could be. So
yeah.
something to watch out for.
All right. Well, I tell you what, I really appreciate you making it here today. I could tell that it's been a long week for a lot of people, including yourself. I want people to know about your site here, Pedro. So, where can they find on your site your stuff?
Absolutely. If you go to so Greg Quinn, who you see in the front page there, he's our Bank of Canada reporter. But if you go to the
Okay.
policy tab right there on the left and hover over it, if you go to the Fed where it says policy exclusives Fed right there,
Good. Okay. Yeah, I see it right there.
yeah,
That's you.
that's where you get all of our content.
Okay. All
So that's
right.
this interview
You
there.
got to follow Pedro. Everyone who's here, everyone who sees the video later on, because it's a battle. This is a bank war, I think, is going to turn into between President Trump and Powell. There are people within uh, the movement of Trump that would like to get rid of the Fed.
Yeah, I mean, if Powell is very well equipped to protect the institution, like he's very good at the politics of central banking.
Yeah.
He's a master at dealing with getting backing from the Hill. Someone pointed out recently, a Fed's legal scholar pointed out that he's got broad support from somebody who hates him so much that she didn't vote for his re confirmation, Elizabeth Warren. But when it comes to defending him from executive meddling, the Senate is willing to really step up, even including Republicans. So uh, I think
Once,
Powell is pretty
Pow-
well equipped to deal with it. Now it remains to be seen who he's going to appoint of course, for Fed chair and for the upcoming openings and for governorships. But all the names that have been circulated so far are institutionalist kind of names.
Okay.
So
But the Fed chair pick will be the president's.
it will be the presidents, and the names floated so far are people like Kevin Warsh, Mickey Bowman, Chris Waller, and Kevin Hassett. And so those are all respected and institutional names that
Well, you know, they're not going to be chosen.
well, we'll see. We'll see. I
All
mean,
right. Anyway, it'd be some. I think he's going to put in an FX trader in there to run the Fed. You know, to take the dollar down. So anyway, Pedro, thank you so much, and clarified a lot of things. As I said, everyone, you got to follow Pedro to know what's going on. This is going to be a very, shall I say, interesting year about with Fed policy compared to, Biden was completely gloves off. The gloves are on, right, Pedro?
they are.
All
They are.
right, man. So we're going to see a heavyweight fight here. And Pedro, thanks. You're a champion on covering the Fed.
Thank you so much. Really
All
appreciate
right.
it.
I'll get a hold of you on X and we'll talk in the spring, buddy.
Sounds great.
All
Appreciate it.
right. Pedro DaCosta, follow him on X at P DaCosta and go to mnimarketnews.com to educate yourself about what's happening in the plumbing. And don't forget to not just count your pips, count your blessings. See everyone Monday. Do your work, get ready to execute, and be careful over the weekend. Lighten up is what I would say. React to the reaction, don't predict it. So that's a wrap, everyone. Have a great weekend. See you Monday. Adios. You're welcome. You're welcome. People are thanking you, Pedro. Okay.
Thanks, guys. Really
All
appreciate
right. All right. See you, everyone.
it. Take care.
Enjoy. There's more to life than money. You know, money comes and goes. Time is gone forever. Make it count. All right. And do what I say, not what I do. All right. See everyone Monday. See you, Pedro.
Bye, Dale. Thanks.
Bye, buddy.